going to sensationalize this instance where we believe this woman completely lied to indict the overall reality for how women particularly face violence when they reject a man. At what point can a man be the victim?
So which one is it? We only care about language that's happening towards black men. We only care about violence that's happening towards black men.
The conversation and the discourse that took place as a result of the video she made was that, oh, black men don't protect black women.
You will never, ever, ever get me to feel bad for believing someone who comes forward and says that they were assaulted by a man.
Getting the criminal justice system involved, it's just way beyond the scope of what the criminal justice system is for.
Hello, beautiful black people.
Hello.
Wow, yeah. I was just gonna say more than that. What's going on?
To the audience, if you're new here, welcome to Olay Friends. This is a podcast, not a panel. This is not academia, nor are we the moral police. Every week we have friendly, nuanced discussions about the pop culture events of the week with like-minded people who have different perspectives, and we invite you to be a fly on the wall as we have those conversations. You are not going to agree with everyone, and that is okay because you are not supposed to. But you do have to respect my show and my guests. Now, let me tell you why I've gathered you all here today. Yes, I gotta have a spiel now, okay? We're changing the culture. About 2 years ago now, I would say, and I'll probably like conscious take this, but about 2 years ago, there was an incident on social media where a woman who's now been referred to as the brick lady ever since, she put out a video saying that a black man hit her with a brick because she had denied his advances and that all the other black men in the area didn't do anything to intervene and to help her, which of course on our internet turned into a huge gender war thing because people were speaking about black women. Black men were also like speaking about their experiences and saying, oh, yes, this is a thing where they're not defended, X, Y, Z. This turns into a gender war thing. Then it comes out, she gets arrested by Houston PD, who claim that she committed fraud because they say that she had started a GoFundMe. And they said that they had surveillance footage that showed that she was not hit by a brick. She was hit by a water bottle, but it was after she hit him first, which then turned into a whole thing with the internet. Oh, you see, you know, like, so that's obviously then the other day, it recently came out that she was convicted. She got a wild sentence. What was it, Conscious? What was the specifics?
She got convicted of theft for $42,000. That's the money that she raised and the
that they didn't let her get, right? And the GoFundMe didn't they?
No, she did get. That she did
never
get,
got.
That she did get. No, she did get. That's the reason why they were able to charge her with theft, because then they had an investigator that went and was able to track the funds that she had, and they said because she was paying for Ubers and Lyfts, and that she went to Jamaica, I believe, or something like that. That's what one of the articles said. That's how they was able to say that she charged her with theft, because she actually was able to get access to the funds and she actually spent the funds.
Okay,
that's from the research that I did.
Okay, so then they also gave her, they put her on probation. How many years of probation?
10 years probation.
10 years probation and 10 years
90 days in jail. 90 days in jail. She's in jail right now. 10 years barred from the internet, and then forced to pay the $42,000 back. Before I say anything, I just want to give that's the objective thing that you know what I'm saying? Now, for me, it's just thinking like this. So if this case was so big, right, where are the victims of the theft? Like, where are the videos of the people being like, because this individual fleeced me under false pretenses, I want my money back? Now, did it happen the way she said it happened? No. Did something happen and transpire? Yes.
Did she not get hit in the face? That's all I
That wasn't no water bottle. I'm sorry. I've never seen a water bottle do damage like that. But that's neither here nor there. What I want to say is, I don't know if you've experienced this, Christina, Conscious, or anybody else here. I've had people under my tweets for the last week since this news broke saying like, oh, you're not talking about this. You had all this to say when you were supporting her. And now that this has come out, you don't have nothing to say. And let me just say this, because I wanted to take the time to actually do it in a productive way. You will never, ever get me to feel bad for believing someone who comes forward and says that they were assaulted by a man, because if you look at the statistics, the statistics align with that being the truth. And something did transpire. She was hit. I don't know who hit who first. They're saying she hit him first. I don't know what that man said to provoke her. I don't know any of that because I wasn't there. But I will never not believe a victim when they come forward to me, and I don't feel any type of way. And I think it's frankly weird as hell that so many people are using this as a gotcha, because that really showcases where their priorities are. It's not about protecting people or the reputation of some man who is frankly a sleazeball. I don't care what you say. And yeah, like, it's not about that. It's about like furthering your narrative that you hate Black women. And it's so sad and pathetic that like so many people are like looking at this story where somebody was banned from the internet by the state for 10 years, and they don't think that that is an egregious piece of shit. Like, that is so much bullshit. And I think it's like frankly concerning that we're at the state we are as a community where we think that that shit is okay. I think the whole thing has been blown out of proportion. I don't think Roe should be subject to probation. I don't think Roe should be in jail. I think Roe was assaulted. And frankly, like, there are other ways that this could have been handled, if you ask me. And I don't feel bad for supporting her. I still do, because she should not be in nobody's jailhouse because of this bullshit. And she definitely shouldn't have 10 years of probation. It's that simple.
Why do you feel like she was assaulted, though?
Because
I mean, did you see the
She had
snot
the
on her
gash
face?
on her
she was
face.
actually
But
assaulted.
assault is very specific, though, right? Because, for example, if I hit a guy and he hits me back, I wasn't assaulted, right? Like,
Yes,
you know, and he was
you
running back,
would have been
back
assaulted.
in self-defense. Assault would means that, you know, she was a victim of a crime, right? Or she was a victim of something.
This is
And
what
she
I say,
wasn't,
right? It's what I say, right? This is what I say, right? I would say two things.
Yeah.
The first thing is disproportionality. Right now, a lot of us have been talking about what is a proportionate response for what happened. And what we know when it comes to other ways and instances, we know that if I mush you in your head and you sucker punch me, we understand that being a disproportionate response, right? So for me, it's thinking about it. Even if you feel like this woman hit him first, a grown man hit a woman with a object. And now because y'all feel like he hit her first, this is the aha gotcha. The second thing I say is this. A lot of the people that don't like me, that's in that community or that community, specifically when it comes to this issue, the reason why one of the issues is that y'all don't like my advocacy when it comes to trans women, and you usually try to sensationalize men and women's sports. And your argument is that trans women should not be in sports because a trans woman has much more power and should not be putting their hands on a woman. But then every instance that we see an actual man putting their hand on a woman and being violent, y'all defend it. So for me, if you justify mutual combat, what did the state of Texas say legally? The state of Texas legally said that because Roe hit him, they were engaging in mutual combat. Now, the state of Texas also says that a trans, like, to me, it's like you can't have it both ways. The last thing I say is this. How come, Flacco, nobody in that community is begging anybody that defended Tory Lanez? I said that Rhoda was innocent and she was found guilty. Why you ain't talking about that? Where's the apology? Where's the apology for Tory Lanez? Where's the apology for P. Diddy? To me, it's like, this is the disingenuous nature of apologies, accountability, and this is why I agree with Shaheen. None of this
Do we
is
like the police or not? I'm so confused because y'all got me confused. Is the state where we go to for justice or to validate things or not? I'm so confused.
Can't have it both ways.
Where's the line?
No, bro, like, I don't feel like you should apologize for nothing, by the way, right? Because, yo, like, listen, if you gave your knee-jerk reaction and you turn out, hey, you got found guilty, bro, listen, man, like, we all get things wrong. But what I would say, though, man, is we think it's a disproportionate reaction from him based on, like, the bruise, right? Based on what we witnessed as, yo, what he did was the direct reason why she had that bruise on. Some people dispute that. Some people say, hold on, she had a mask on, I believe, like that night. We don't know where that came from because when I look at that bruise, I didn't see no type of scarring, no rip in the skin. That looked like, to me, again, I'm not a doctor, so
her face
I could
was
be
fractured.
100%
I
wrong
just want to put that out there.
That looked like an allergic reaction to me. So if we're saying, yo, she punched the man,
had medical records that
she was deceptive in her explanation, right? Because she said,
She had medical records that validated that she had a fracture in her face. Like, that was not an allergic reaction.
Wait, though.
That was
Sure
posted.
thing.
The evidence was
Listen, sure
seen.
thing. But I don't feel like, again, because the police are saying, yo, like, Ola, right? And his explanation of what happened is the more accurate one. I don't think him throwing a water bottle is causing that fracture and that bruise. I feel, me personally feel like that was probably already there before that particular incident, and her being deceptive in her explanation, because she says, yo, because I didn't give him my number, he beat me up. Yo, they left the club together. I think she was in the vehicle with him, and then she exited out. So if she was already being deceptive in her explanation of what took place, why are we now saying, yeah, give her the benefit of the doubt when she's a proven liar?
Do we know
Okay,
what do we know if they had a? Because
So
I
I
was
was
going to
gonna
say
say,
that.
I think
Do we know if they
like
had an
there's
argument
a little
that
bit
led
of just
to
kind of
her hitting
confusion
him or
because
whatnot?
what the courts and the media are relying on is this
Damn it.
video that shows some interaction between her and this man that
why does
leads
my
up to
Wi-Fi not
her
working?
hitting him and then him
Damn it,
throwing a
dude.
bottle or whatever at her. But we don't know what happened before that. We don't know what was said when they were in the club, on the way out of the club, when they were in the car. And there's so much that is not like shown to us, and we're all making assumptions obviously about what could have happened or what didn't happen, but I mean, something clearly happened in which this woman left this incident with a fracture in her face that's like gigantic.
No, that's not determined. No, listen.
Yes, it did happen. She was with her. She was with her friend. She was with her friend who also corroborated the fact that he threw something at her, and then after that, they went to the hospital, and she had this fracture in her face. Like that is a direct. The injury of her face is a direct correlation to the bottle being thrown at her, and it could have been a metal water bottle. It could have been full. I mean, and this is a grown man using all of his strength to throw this at this woman. So
he had a knee-jerk reaction, though, right? Again.
But again, we don't know what happened with their interaction prior to what we saw on this video. Like all of this is being, hinged on this video, and it doesn't have audio. It doesn't have a lot of detail, and it's kind of.
Why would the audio matter?
Well, because we don't know what they're talking about.
Can I ask a question?
Audio
she put hands on a grown man, and he reacted.
Right.
Franco, I want for distinguishment. Like, to be clear, I want to be clear. Are you defending the right of this man to hit her, to throw the bottle at her, or are you defending that the sentence that she got was fair based on these circumstances, or is it both? I think that's an important, because
yes. Sorry. So I agree with you guys, right? I do think the justice system should be for reform, and so I don't think 90 days in jail and 10 years probation and a 10 year social media ban is fair. I think it's not fair, right? And that should not happen. But I do think the conversation should be, the justice system, they probably over convicted her, opposed to, she's a victim. They and did her wrong, and she did nothing wrong. And no, she lied and she was rightfully convicted, but the punishment is too harsh.
Can I ask a question?
But the other thing that I want to just bring up really quick is she lied, but did she lie about being hit by a brick versus a water bottle? Or did she lie about saying that he asked for her number? I think that there was an altercation that happened between them, and which resulted in her getting a fracture to her face. Like, I'm not sure if what she was hit with actually matters. I'm not sure if the nature of the initial altercation actually matters. I think what we have to look at is this woman was hit in a way that caused her face to be fractured. And then people on the internet, found sympathy with her, and they donated money to her, which I think is right. That's kind of how our society responds to things these days, mutual aid and whatnot. And then the criminal justice system intervened and said, oh, well, you weren't hit with a brick, it was a bottle. And you hit this person as well, so you're going to be convicted of fraud. Well, she didn't really defraud anyone. She showed her true injuries. She was hit in this altercation in a way that caused her serious medical harm.
I don't believe that, though. And
but you actually on the video do see her
being hit
and her face getting fractured.
Yeah, with a water bottle. But there's no there's nothing to say that shit. Oh, sorry, that's the.
But it does.
Yeah.
I think ultimately, Oh, she him go.
So my question is, and this is something that I think comes up in all of these conversations, because this is just an offshoot of a larger conversation. And I think where we all get it twisted is, what is your objective? Because I can tell you my objective is to keep people safe and to believe people when they come forward and say that they're harmed, so we have less harm in our community. That's my objective. And the only way we can do that is when people come forward with allegations saying that they were mistreated, abused, or harmed, is believing them. And she was harmed. She had the medical records that prove that she had a fracture in her face. We know that she was physically assaulted. Who hit who and all of that jazz. We can sort through all of that. But my question is, what is the objective? Because I'm hearing a lot of people like trying to really hammer down on this lady, even though it's proven that she was physically assaulted. Thank you, Naya. What is the objective? Like, what do you want the outcome to be here? If you agree that the state is super punitive, if you agree with what we're saying in that regard, what is your objective? Like, are you trying to protect people who come forward with who are accused of being abusive or harmful? Like, who are you trying to protect here?
Sure. She was not assaulted. She is not a victim. She got hit by a water bottle in a knee-jerk reaction after she assaulted somebody. She was the perpetrator. Now again, the punishment was too harsh, but she's not a victim. And I'm saying is this: there's no way to tell that bruise was not there before she had an interaction with that man, because she had on a mask, I believe, in the club, which to me is also kind of weird.
Flacco, okay.
What happened? Can someone? Do we know what happened before anything got physical?
No.
Well,
like the video just shows them like talking, and then she like pushes him or hits him, right. And then that's all we know.
Right. And my inkling is
account,
that,
right, of what happened.
And what was his account?
And he says they left the club together, and she was acting like erratic, being hella rude and in the car. And just based on how she was acting, he believed that she was doing this deliberately, or she already had this like planned and set up already. He kicked her out the car. She got out, and I guess like she started to behave erratically and hit him, and then he hit her back. But according to him, she was acting as if like she was like a mad person the entire time.
Right. So my inkling, which is 99.999% probably correct, is he said some out of fucking pocket shit, and the victimhood started then. He probably did some shit, and that's based off of I could go from experiences as being a woman, but also if you look at like consciously you did the false allegations report, or it's like 2 to 10%. 2 to 10% for sexual assault. Yeah, I guarantee
but
you
still,
that nigga.
Part of the context.
I just guarantee you that. I guarantee you the victimization started before she put her hands on him, and that is we don't. You know, it's allegedly. None of us were there, but like if we kept it a buck, and we wanted to have a conversation, we could start there. That out of nowhere, she's acting erratically. I don't know what's wrong with her, and then she hits me, and I hit her in the face with a water bottle because he felt unsafe. Like what are we when we live in a world where Meg Thee Stallion could show her own medical records, it says she had bullet shrapnel in her feet, and people still talking about she lied. I'm not sitting here thinking and 100% believing that Ro lied about everything. And honestly, even if she did embellish the truth, another conversation that we could keep it a buck about is why the women feel like we got to do that, because we're not even believed when we tell you verbatim what the happens to us. So it's like, if we haven't the conversation fully, we need to have the conversation fully.
I think the place that I come at this from is twofold, and they converge. The thing that people are really upset about, the reason why there are men championing her getting this conviction and getting this result, has nothing to do with the actual event or anything, and it has to do with how they were made to feel by the internet discourse. They are upset because the thing that they feel like she deserves to be held responsible for is creating a narrative that made Black men look bad. That's what they feel like. The narrative, the conversation, and the discourse that took place as a result of the video she made was that, oh, Black men don't protect Black women, and that, oh, Black men have abused Black women, right? That's the conversation that made them mad. Here's the thing about this. Separate and apart from Roe, that conversation bears nothing but legitimacy. That's a conversation. The reason why people jumped into that conversation the way that they did, and so many Black women, and I was not a person that did this, by the way. I didn't know anything about this until we first held the first Brick Lady episode. So don't have nobody jumping here about, oh, as though I have a dog in the fight. I do not, and I am a defense attorney. What I'm saying is that conversation is something that would have been legitimate regardless. It is simply true. It does not make it a Black problem. It doesn't make it unique to Black people, but it is true that Black women, oftentimes, if we're experiencing violence or experiencing domestic violence, the average woman has been the victim of some kind of violence at the hands of a man. So yes, Black women are experiencing abuse in our communities by Black men. So yes, it is true that a significant amount of Black women, Black people, Black children, other Black men, Black boys have experienced abuse in their community that they have not felt protected by. So when that discourse starts, people are going to jump in it. And I understand that doesn't mean that I don't understand the weight of Black men feeling disparaged, especially wrongfully, if they feel like this discourse that is painting us in a negative light is born out of something that they feel like isn't quite accurate. Because I think the original gripe wasn't even about really whether or not he assaulted her. That the particular thing they had a problem with was that her video framed the Black men around that did not jump in as the problem, and the conversation became about Black men not jumping in to go protect Black women, and that's what they were really upset about. That being said, there is this recurring theme. We live in the United States of America, where there is a prison industrial complex built on the back of Black people. It is built on the back of targeting disproportionately Black people. It polices Black people, charges Black people, incarcerates Black people at a rate that no other community experiences, and is intentional. And what I've noticed America loves to do, American media and American police, is they watch discourse happen and they basically look for like manufactured consent for us. I've seen this now several times. There was another incident, and I want to say the last year, where a Black girl was running. She's in a track meet, and people don't know whether or not with her baton, whether or not it was an accident or a part of it. And this big discourse that Black people are engaging on the internet for no reason about whether or not this random track meet, oh, was it intentional, was it not, turns into the police taking that as an opportunity to go, oh, there's a bunch of Black people saying she did that on purpose, so now we are going to go arrest and criminalize this high school student that's participating in a track race when that does not need to be an element of it. So in this case, the way I feel about this is this. Let's put aside the event and debating this, because something I could say as a defense attorney who's been in court is nobody knows. The defense attorney, the judge, the prosecutor, no one knows shit. We're all standing there playing our roles, vehemently arguing whatever our position is, and it's about what we convince, but nobody knows. So there isn't really, to me, a purpose in us engaging in that. What I would look at in this circumstance is, I would feel differently about this scenario, or I would not feel differently, but I would think I would understand more a legitimacy in people's argument or their vitriol they have towards her if she were trying to go and incarcerate that Black man. Like that was her aim and goal, to incarcerate this man who and it didn't happen like that. Then the truth of the incident would matter more, but that's not what happened. This is a dialogue that happened online. And even at the worst, if we believe the worst, if I was to believe Flacco's version, the worst version of the events, and say, okay, she already had this bruise and this was a scam set up to come on the internet and get sympathy to get money. That is not something that was designed. That is not her weaponizing the criminal system against a Black man. That is not what she went to go do. She didn't sue him civilly. She didn't do any of those things. She went with a story on the internet, like is the culture that we live in, especially with all the millions of different reasons why people need money, go scam or whatever it is. Let's say she was a scammer. That offense does not mean that we should now, our discourse, our gender wars, the debate where we want to pit Black women and Black men towards each other online, now becomes something that we go and we give the state permission, approval to then go and disproportionately punish, because it's like, you think it's cute. The reality is this: probation, this is somebody who, like, this Black man was never charged. He wasn't arrested. None of that happened. This is not some actual.
I think he was arrested. I think he was arrested.
Did he get arrested?
I think he was arrested.
Was he arrested then, or was he arrested after it became online? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Not because she went and demanded an arrest, because of how the discourse became online. The state goes and intervenes and decides. In the same way, remember when Will Smith, when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, and they were saying they called LAPD and had a bunch of people there, like trying to turn this into a criminal situation based on outrage online and not necessarily what those people mean. So for me, that's the bigger problem. It's not really this discourse and how we litigate things between ourselves and the community, or her trying to go get this money. It's the fact that the state goes and sees us having these arguments and goes, they'll be okay with that. You know what I mean? We can go disproportionately do something, because it also starts a precedent. If we say, all right, every time we don't like the discourse somebody starts online or whatever it is, the state can say, you think about what the internet is, and the internet is a livelihood in our lives. And the internet is an inevitability, something you have to engage in. Imagine what happens to your careers, your goals, your ambition, things you may want to do. If somebody can say, hey, you did this offense, so now no internet, a complete social media ban. What is the trickle down effect for that? So to me, that's where I come at it from.
Where I come at it from, I agree with everything of that. In addition, I would add is that right now, this is being sensationalized as an indictment towards believing women and as an indictment towards protecting women. So the overall discourse doesn't only become about what happened in this incident with the brick lady, Rhoda Osmond. It's now seen as was it Christina, Shaheen, consciously? This is why in the overall big picture, when we start talking about abuse towards women, you should always filter these hoes be lying, or always filter that we should not trust them. And I think that if we can't be real about that particularly, I think that is, to me, that's my frustration with this, especially when it comes to evidence. So in this instance right now, we all can acknowledge that most people that believe Roe is a scamming, B-I-T-C-H, they also believe the same thing for Cassie, also believe the same thing for Megan Thee Stallion. So that was, what do we do with the consistency of how evidence is you know what I'm saying, displaced? And right now we see like, hey man, I'm sorry y'all, I'm sorry. I don't think that people are leaning into this conversation in good faith, because the stats are still here. All women have an experience of facing violence because they told a person, told a man uniquely, I don't want to be with you. Oh no, I want my number. Well, bitch, that's a reality. So now we're gaslighting people and saying, even though we know this is a prevalent reality of men responding in violence towards women that reject their advance, we're going to sensationalize this instance where we believe this woman completely lied to indict the overall reality for how women particularly face violence when they reject a man. And to me, that's the part that's frustrating. Like, so we're going to deny this doesn't happen. Okay, sure, it didn't happen what you said it happened. Let's say that, because I think Christina right now, what you said, Christina, made me think about this. She said that he asked for a number, or she said something, and he said no. The surveillance shows there was a verbal back and forth that happened. People are now saying that verbal altercation don't matter, but it could corroborate her story.
Also, Flacco, something you said earlier when you said, you made the point, you doubled down on the point that she's not a victim, like she's not a victim or whatever, and this is she was not assaulted. I guess the question I want to ask is, why is it so important to you that she not be a victim, or she not be considered a victim? Like, why is that an important point to make, the problem with people seeing her like that? Because even if through your own understanding, your own admission is like, this is a disproportionate result, like what the state is doing, but she's still not a victim. This is still a rightful conviction. But I would argue that in any circumstance, like I, as an advocate or as a defense attorney, if I see Black men as the victim of a criminal system that is disproportionately policing, incarcerating, and punishing them, regardless of whether or not, I don't say what their role is, or how much they have to do, or whether or not they are the perfect this or whatever. I recognize that there's still a larger system that's at play, and they are the victim of that system. So I would say, like, even if I thought, like, even if I gave you, if I look at it in the way that you see it, that she is a total liar and this was a larger scam just to get money on the internet, get people's sympathy, is this smaller? Is she not still the victim of a criminal system that's disproportionately punishing her to make an example of her, to be a part of this, like, that's playing off of this narrative that's now, and probably just trying to demonstrate, probably trying to test out public, like black approval of particular punishments? You know what I mean? Like, because when have we seen this, these social media man? So that'd be my question, Flacco.
Here, listen. Okay, so yes, I think she's a victim of being overpunished. However, when it comes to her and Ola, the reason why I want to be very specific here and saying, no, we have a victim, and the victim is Ola. Ola was the one that was attacked. Ola was the one that was assaulted. Ola is the one who was at risk of having his entire life ruined and tarnished, right? Because people would have probably thought, yo, this man is a monster who hit a woman with a brick and tried to kill her. And what I think is, man, is I hope that this situation is not a deterrent to other women being believed. However, where we go wrong at, man, is I think we should all be pushing for people to acknowledge the facts and to accept the truth when the facts come. However, what I feel like people is pushing for is believe all women off the bat. And I feel like that's an injustice to women, because if we're saying, listen, there's a pendulum of justice here. Here is fair, meaning when women come with facts, analyze the facts and make a decision. That's fairness. That's the pendulum of justice. However, once we start to push that further into privilege, that's when women get a bad rap now. That's when the, man, after these hoes, they be lying comment. No, we should say, yo, we should wait for the facts to come out. If a woman comes and say, yo, this man hit me with a brick because I didn't give him my number, we shouldn't then rush to crucify that man and burn him at a stake. We should say, no, let's just wait for the facts to come out. And that's where I believe it, right? Because again, if we believe that Megan Thee Stallion is a victim and Tory Lanez is not a victim, then we should believe that Ola is a victim, all right? And Rhoda is a perpetrator because she hit him first and she falsely accused him.
I think the problem. Oh, she can't. Okay, she can't mute. You talk.
Sorry,
She can't
no,
mute.
I just don't understand how those are comparable things. Tory Lanez shot Megan Thee Stallion like unprovoked. Like there's nothing that was provoking that. Again, we don't know what the exchange was between the two of them. And I agree with what a lot of people are saying as like let's get straight to like what actually matters here. And the reality is there is a culture within our community where men in our community feel extra comfortable dunking on Black women, and these gender wars, whatever you want to call it, is large. And I witness this shit every day. I'm in the same community. I see people, men specifically, harassing, targeting, belittling, berating, abusing Black women, demonizing Black women day in and day out. And the second that Black women respond in a way that isn't like the perfect victim, which is a dead person, frankly, y'all do the same thing where you're constantly trying to strip her of victimhood. And this doesn't even have to be about Ro and Ola or whoever is included in the situation. It's about a culture in our community that I think is disgusting. I love black men. Let me be clear. I just think that one of the issues that we have in our community is that a lot of Black men are unwilling to address that culture. And when we get faced with moments like these, where you can even slightly question someone who's come forward saying that they were victimized and that they were being harassed and then they were physically assaulted. Physical assault doesn't have to just be about like criminality, but they were harassed and then physically assaulted. When you can even slightly question that, everything goes out the window, and we refuse again to acknowledge that there is a culture in our community where women are constantly harassed, belittled, attacked, and abused and harmed. And I just don't like the angle of this conversation. I think that we always veer into talking about
women are, but she wasn't.
We veer into unnecessary mush about shit that doesn't matter. And I think like when we get bogged down, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish.
Sorry, go ahead.
We get bogged down into details that just frankly are not as important as the overarching conversation, which is that there is a culture of patriarchy in the Black community, and it's sick. And I think that we focus on the wrong things, and then when people like Consciously, like Christina and myself want to talk about that thing, we get demonized and like called like everything in the book. I've been called like a gender traitor. I've been called like I've been called every slur you can think of because I simply say this is actually a problem, and it is. And I don't hate Black men because I'm acknowledging that there is a problem in our culture, in our community. And frankly, the fact that we're arguing about a woman's victimhood right now is so deeply concerning. Like she was.
But I think even if we strip away the word victim and we can acknowledge that these two people were engaged in a mutual combat, I don't think that it matters that we specifically address her as a victim. She was injured, and I think my larger issue is that she presented her injury to the public in a way that may have been over sensationalized, but that is the media in general, right? We're always presented with stories that are over sensationalized. That's what grabs people's attention. That's what that's what's sometimes necessary. And in doing that, she received these funds to assist her. Like, we don't necessarily have to call her a victim, but we can call her someone that people found sympathy for, someone who started a conversation in our community about, the disproportionate strength and power of women and men in physical altercations, women being believed when they bring stories forward. She definitely was like a catalyst for this conversation. And it doesn't matter particularly that she's a victim, but I think getting the criminal justice system involved in, addressing whether or not she was, fraudulently collected this money from people. I just think it's just way beyond the scope of what the criminal justice system is for. No one who donated to her made a video and said, oh, after some additional information came out, I want my money back. No one said, oh, like, just because she was hit with a water bottle instead of a brick, I want my money back. Just because she may have hit this person before he hit her, now I want my money back. So what business does the criminal justice system have stepping in to this situation? And additionally, the man who she accused of assaulting her, he hasn't come forward saying that, oh, this incident has ruined my life. And I believe that she did say some additional comments about his conduct that, could have severely damaged his reputation. But he hasn't come forward saying that he's had reputational harm or anything like that. So that could have been a reason that people reach out and support him. He could have started his own GoFundMe, or he could have sued her civilly if she did cause harm for him. There is other avenues to address when, someone speaks out of turn and says false things about you and ruins your reputation and causes damage to you. And that's not what happened here. Like, so for me, it doesn't necessarily matter if she's a victim or if he's a victim. But people believed her enough to donate to her, and I just think it's,
It should be no punishment at all. Is that what you're saying? Like, okay, so like we've gone from
no.
Maybe she's overpunished to no punishment at all.
No, we said there are other avenues to punish her in the same way that she didn't take this to the criminal system. They could have. This could have been a lawsuit. This could have. This could have been a civil suit. This could have been a civil lawsuit.
So he should have spent his money again after being a victim to then pursue civil charges against her, opposed to.
Do you know that he does not get anything?
Whether or not he's a victim or not, like, you have to, like, to initiate a lawsuit, you have to spend money. You can collect money if there's damages.
This is why I said this from the beginning, is the thing that you think that everybody likes that she's being punished for is not what she's being punished for. This idea that, like, oh, this is the way he's getting justice. He's not. It has nothing to do with him. He's getting nothing. He's getting nothing out of this. This has nothing to do with him at all. And I think, like, again, why I say, like, why I feel differently, it would, like, I see the system, this case differently as somebody who is a criminal defense attorney and knows how it works and how the victims are perceived and treated on the opposite end as somebody who represents who's the defendant. If somebody were hit, if I were representing somebody and the complaint said that my client hit somebody with a brick, and it turns out that this victim just assumed because they were hit with some hard ass water bottle, they hit them and they just assumed it must have been a brick. That was just what they said to the police. That would never be enough to get my case dropped. That would never change. It might lower the grade of the offense depending on how they define weapon or whatever it is as a felony or a misdemeanor or what grade it is, but it would never mean that this person has lied, is not a victim. It would not get the case. It would not be a smoking gun, dismissed and sealed. I would call the prosecutor and they would be like, oh, okay. Maybe we could talk about a plea or you could put that on a record, but it wouldn't change anything. So I think that's one.
Two, cleared his name though, Olay, right? Like for example, right? So again, even though he was not listed as a victim, but them charging her and them proving she lied and defrauded people,
but I think that that's also a choice.
His name.
These are all, but this is what I'm saying about the criminal system and why I don't like when Black people rely on this. And I have a large video about, like, how women become carceral feminists, where I go into this in, like, specifically in Meg Thee Stallion's case and other cases. But this is why I think it is dangerous when Black people lean on the criminal system in and of itself to, like, solve and litigate disputes between us, because the criminal system is not there for truth or consistency. I think that's what's important. To use cases as examples of this, the criminal system picks and chooses what it want to do every day. It could easily have decided to charge them both, or decided, oh, I wanted it to be him or her. What I'm saying is they played off of public consent. They played off of a narrative. They knew what would be, and that's why they chose to go after it that way. And that's, to me, why it becomes like, fuck the guy. It's not about this. It's about how the criminal system is watching us. They watch us the same way. Like, the minute we get to talking and making video essays about this one and the next one, this rapper, this whatever, you see RICO charges start coming. They start following them. They start doing this or whatever. They start watching shit, and they say, what is the public okay with? What is the community going to say is all right? And then they decide and they move off of that. So I think, and the thing I would push back on from earlier that you were saying, Flacco, the implication that, like, these women, when we get examples like this or something, that's what creates the narrative. Oh, women be lying and blah blah blah. That is based on a fallacious premise. It assumes, I know that we have a prison industrial. It is 100% true that in the United States of America, we have a prison industrial complex that disproportionately goes after Black men, and in high for everything, disproportionately for everything, disproportionate punishments. That being said, the least of which is punished in the criminal system or taken seriously are crimes against women, like domestic violence, sexual assault crimes. That is not the reality. That Black men are just getting convicted and squashed, wrongfully convicted for abusing women is not true. This idea that there's this large, like, pipeline of women who've lied and women who lie, whatever. That's not true. Black men are disproportionately policed. They're disproportionately incarcerated. They're disproportionately sentenced, and they're disproportionately put in circumstances like growing up in environments that are under resources that increase the odds of you ending up in the criminal system. But that does not mean that there is a lie. Like, I think we've conflated a historical lie of white women lying about rape, white women lying about rape in Jim Crow time, these times, to make that a larger narrative about women lying on Black men. And that is not true. And I also think, and it's a dangerous idea to suggest that we've always had a narrative, because that's what a patriarchy is, that's what misogyny is, that women are lying, that women can't be the victims. That existed first. So this idea that, oh, every time if we get a needle in a haystack where we don't get the perfect victim, she's the reason, we should feel more animosity towards her because she's the reason this is happening, is completely fallacious. So that is something I wanted to push back on.
Yeah, man. Yo, here also too is this, man. If we're now saying, right, that she shouldn't have been charged criminally, cool, then shouldn't we at least say, okay, now the responsibility is on us to hold her accountable socially? Because if we're now saying she should not get charged criminally, cool, but then Shaheem is still saying she's the victim of this, she's the victim, man, I still believe her story, even though she's a documented liar. I still believe her. I'm like, okay, so at what point do we say she's a liar? We're not going to believe her, and Olay is the victim here, right? Because if he can never be the victim, if we're talking about a story where a man was assaulted, a man is the victim, and we're still going back to patriarchy, it's like, come on,
I think Flacco, I do want to say this. I didn't want to litigate all the facts, but like, we keep assuming, like, the same way you refuse to, like, say she's a victim. Like, I think that's why the new approach of us, like, leaving this victim of discussion, like discourse in particular, like, is beneficial, because I don't think we're going to agree on who is a victim and who's not, or the idea that if she's not, he is. Because at the end of the day, we keep talking about self-defense, but as a lawyer, self-defense is an affirmative defense raised by the defense at trial. Self-defense has never been proved here. The idea, the prosecutors made a decision. That's all it is. Prosecutors and defense attorneys making decisions as to what's easier, what the public will agree with, or what'll go over. Self-defense was never proved. He never went to trial and raised the affirmative defense that, oh, I didn't assault her because it was self-defense, at which point he would have had to prove that this was not a disproportionate amount of force that he used. Self-defense requires that you use just enough force to defend yourself. So if we're arguing that this woman hit him, mushed him, slapped him, or whatever, that is not, I promise you, it's going to be very hard to raise an affirmative defense and self-defense at trial, arguing that this man needed to take this object and hit her. So I'm not prepared to, like, accept that premise that this was self-defense and thus he's a victim too. But I will hear you on. I do think there is legitimacy in saying that, okay, well, if she started a discourse a negative discourse about Black men that wasn't necessarily, that was unfair to maybe the Black men present. Maybe I would accept an argument that maybe the Black men present that she was disparaging for not helping saw something different, or they saw some reason why they didn't want to get involved, or it was unfair for them. I think that's a different conversation. Like, how about us having like a responsibility and how we engage discourse, and saying maybe our community itself, because I think this is less about, she made a sensational video, but this couldn't do what it did if we didn't latch on to it. The community, Black men and women, and gender wars.
Can I just say, I just want to respond to one thing. I want to respond to one thing and say, like, social accountability. Are we all misremembering the way that this entire situation went down? Because I specifically remember Roe being harassed to the point where tens of thousands of people ran her up off of certain apps. I saw the comments that she was subject to. What more do you need if you're talking about social accountability?
Hold on, let's add to it. Shaheem, add to it. Shaheem, I'll let her speak to her. Add to it. She received so many death threats that she had to move her son's school at least twice. She received so many death threats, she had to move her house. People found her home address and sent her death threats. Sent her piece of orders to show her, I know where you live at. So
and
to
when
me,
has
it's like,
a woman when has a woman ever benefited from coming forward with allegations?
This is the reason why I've been annoyed. Though, like, so where is this social accountability for all the individuals that still believe that Diddy is a victim of the system? We've seen evidence and surveillance of him hit Cassie. Right now, and the reason I bring this up, the reason why I'm bringing up these other things is because this Roe situation is seen as one small victory in battle in the larger dialogue of gender wars. I want to be clear on that. The reason why this Rhoda Osmond is being celebrated is because it's seen as a small victory in the various battles of gender wars. The reason why I'm frustrated is because there's a lot of inconsistency when it comes to how we talk about social accountability, how we talk about responsibility, how we talk about apologies. Consciously, you double down and you're a bad person because you still protect Rhoda and you still want to support Rhoda. You don't feel this way when it comes to all of the other battles. And I think that to me matters. Also on this, to Olay's point, think about this. People, they hard-earned money came up, crowd-surfed $42,000 to give to Roe. People are saying she should have to pay that money back. Is the government taking the money and giving it to Olay? No. Where did the money come from? Private citizens' hard-earned money. So now, because we so lost in the sauce and want to reaffirm discrimination towards this woman because she lied, we are now allowing for the state to benefit from private citizens' hard-earned money to say this. And this is the last thing I saw here, because I think that you have a lot of, you're being fair. I think that you have some good faith in it. That's what I would say right here on some debate shit, right? We can agree and understand that disproportionality is back. We agree on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like on some cross-sex question, it'd be like, do you believe that human beings have the ability to act disproportionately the way the state is? The only correct answer is yes.
Yeah, of course.
So for me, it's like, if you can agree that the state acted disproportionately when it came to convicting Roe, you got to be able to see that Olay acted disproportionately when it comes to what he did to Roe.
I don't think he did, man.
Hey, bro, as men,
yeah.
Do we not believe that in general we are physically stronger than women?
Man, she's a 5'9", 240-pound woman, man. So I mean, man, listen. Listen.
Perfect.
Now Flacco.
He threw a water bottle at her. He didn't punch her, duke it up with her. It was a water bottle, bro. Like,
now Flacco, Fran. Like, now I know you're being conspiracy theory line, but hand me out. They're not disputing. The police are not. That what's not being disputed, what has been confirmed fact is not that she made up this injury. It's not that this injury was not the result of what happened, right? And I'm not saying that there needs to be, that we need to add evil intent to him. I understand what you're saying, that he reacted and he did this. But I think it can be true that could be a reaction, and it could be fair to react. Somebody hit you, and this could still be a disproportionate reaction for a grown man. And I also don't want to get into this because I feel strongly about this, and everybody's watched my How Women Become Carceral Feminist video when I talked about my domestic violence and assault. I don't I don't ever want us to get into this idea of trying to act like women are not victims based on their size or this or blah 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 blah. And that's not and it's a dangerous game if we play that, because that woman is not a woman who we gonna call no big woman or something like that. So if that's what we're doing, Black women, when are we gonna be the victim? So no, I feel like we gotta at least acknowledge what Conscious is saying that. I'm sure I know on your side of the internet, friend, y'all think men are stronger than women. So we gotta at least do that.
This what I'm talking about, like the picking and it's like if you can agree that in every instance, because you say men and women's sports mean that men have all the testosterone. To me, it's like I don't get the inconsistencies in these things, especially if we feel like we want to put men and women on a level playing field now and say that, hey, in every instance, I'm the leader, I'm the protector. It is up to men to protect women. We never want to talk about
the consequences, though. Sorry, right? I think the consequences of his reaction was probably disproportionate, right? Because if we're saying that it's a guaranteed conclusion that water bottle caused her face to be fractured, the result is disproportionate, but the action isn't. Meaning, like, I don't feel like him just throwing a water bottle.
That's semantics now, bro. But that's think about this, bro.
I'm be rich,
bro. I'm be rich, bro. Whether we talking about Oakland, Bryan, Texas, or New York, if a woman has big brothers, and she go to his brother and say, "Man, I mushed this in the face," and brother, he sucker punched me in response. Do you think the brothers are wrong for going and beating that ass for sucker punching their sister, even though she mushed them first?
Like about to say
I'll be real with you, bro.
I'm
gonna keep it a stack with
if
you,
my sister wrong, I'm not about to defend my sister while she wrong, bro.
Why just does it matter to you? Does it matter
in his face?
Bro, you see what I'm saying?
Does it matter to you?
That's a good question. And that's a good question. Does it matter why she mushed him?
I'll be real, bruh.
No.
Like,
say no.
Say no. Unless he put.
You gotta say no. You gotta say no, bro.
Again, unless they put their hands on her first, I don't feel like there's any excuse.
This is
pause. And that right there goes back to what I'm talking about. That we do not perceive violence similarly. When violence is happening to Black women, but specifically, we're not looking at certain things as violence. We barely look at physical violence as violence. We don't look at verbal violence. We don't look at verbal assault. We don't look at sexual assault. It has to be this perfect victimhood and this perfect assailant and a perfect assault for us to even perceive that violence is happening to us. And when the violence is disproportionate, then it's all of a sudden, oh, well, you did put his hands on her first. Okay, and then if you called her a bitch and said, fuck you, I'll fuck you up, whoop-de-whoop, and she mushes his face, is that not? But it's not just words.
No adult should put their hands on somebody because of words.
It's not just words, because I'll use my lived example as that. When I had a whole bunch of for 4 days calling me all types of slurs, and I called them bullet bags back, all of a sudden, oh, Christina, you're using really violent words. Well, these call me faggot. They called me bedwench. They could said my pussy was ran through. They're going to have to bleep a lot of this. But because they're going, damn. They said I was in his car.
And I saw it in real time.
I wasn't aware.
I saw that in real time.
I saw it in real time too.
It happened in real time for 4 days, calling me all types of slurs. And with a moment I said, okay, y'all got it. Good luck on your devices, bullet bags. It turned on to me. And their narrative got twisted. And it was, well, you should never use those words. You should never use that language. So which one is it? We only care about language that's happening towards Black men. We only care about violence that's happening towards Black men. We really got to get into it if we're going to have a conversation.
And it feels like we only care more about provocation when it's happening to Black men. Because I guarantee it, if the video had shown, Sham, you go.
No, I was going to say, like, I'm so tired of treating Black men with kitty gloves. And if you don't specify whenever you say, like, there's a deep problem in our community, suddenly you hate Black men, you hate being a Black person and all this, that, and the third. And it's like, no, the same way I'm not going to mince my words when a white person comes to me and upset when I say, white people, y'all are a problem. Okay? I don't mean every individual white person. I don't even know every individual white person. I have white people in my life who I love. I give a fuck about them. I'm not gonna lie. It's a quota. small one. But I do, like, it's not the same way I have black men in my life, straight black men in my life, including my brother, including my friends. That does not negate the fact that there is a deep issue in our community, and we keep having to treat y'all with kitty gloves. If not, y'all start lashing out on everybody who highlights that there is an issue in our community instead of actually facing the problem. I'm not going to say this role situation because I think it's something that is really important to talk about. But at the end of the day, y'all never want to get into the meat and potatoes. And it's because, again, black men are victims often. Everybody here agrees with that.
But not a black woman typically. But typically not a black woman. That's
but we're not going to, exactly.
We're not going to ask your question consciously. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, by all means, ask your question.
Bro, right? So look, okay. So if let's say Rhoda was a 5'2", 120-pound man who put his hands on Olay, and Olay responded back by throwing a water bottle that fractured his face, would that still be disproportionate? Right?
First of all, I can guarantee you he was going to hold that charge. I can tell you that for sure. He was going to hold that charge. Right?
A word?
Yes, bro. Sure. Bro, think about it, Flacco, think about it. Yeah. Why do so many individuals lose cases when they try to justify murdering somebody with self-defense? Because the reaction is disproportionate.
Like,
let's get that clear. Second thing. As somebody with a lot of black women in my family that consider themselves fat and big, the way a lot of violence towards their bodies get justified is because we start to make these weird ass size things. As a habitual skinny nigga, and as a habitual skinny nigga that was raised around a whole bunch of habitual skinny niggas, I know for a fact every nigga I was raised around feel like you was trying to play them. If you believe that a woman that's bigger than them could beat them up, because I think that to me that's said in bad faith. It engages in a lot of fat phobia. It's at the root. It's just a replication of anti-blackness. So to me, I think it's still showing there's a lot of different planning this. For instance, a lot of that's in this, they claim to be what? Boxing fans, boxing supporters. Why do they have weight classes in there? Okay, so even in your think about a 5'2" man versus a big man, that example is still a bad example. Because it's still showing
but I do feel like socially, right? No, but like I do feel though, like the conversation, like socially, would be, man, listen, man, those are two men. He put his hands on him, and he responded back. We can't feel sorry for him, but because it is Rhoda, or she is a woman.
Bro,
I want to be clear. The state
you as a big black man. Hold on, Olay.
The winner of the fight always gets prosecuted.
As a big black man, do you know how many white people feel scared of you, right? Hold on, that's what be clear.
Yeah.
If you was to verbally assault a white person, 5'2" white man, and the 5'2" white man see your big black ass as a threat, does this justify him having a disproportionate response to you because you are perceived as big? There is a violence. Let's talk about the violence to black men, right? Yeah. We understand that a lot of bigger black men are seen as perpetual being somebody that can wage violence. Therefore, they're seen as respectable to being violent. I know a whole bunch of big black men. They're justifiably seen as being violent, and white people can justify violence towards them because they're bigger. Right now, you're playing into that narrative, bro. That's
if
bad.
Deshaun was here, Deshaun would eat this up. Hold on, Deshaun's book, Belly the Beast, there's an entire chapter devoted to talking about the way fat phobia affects black people, and particularly in terms of the criminalization in our life. Very often you'll see that's what happens to even Mike Brown, Eric Garner. These are all people who had their size litigated in the media as a justification for why, it didn't matter that Eric Garner was saying that he couldn't breathe because you think, this big black man. Oh, Mike Brown, you don't see him as the 18-year-old kid that he is. Oh, because this is big black. Even Tamir Rice, they were like, he was bigger than he was supposed to be as a 12-year-old. He looked like a man. That is a regular thing that has been done. And not just the black men or black boys, it happens to black women too, black women and black girls too. I can think of Latasha Harlins when she was killed in California by the Asian shopkeeper, that they made her out to be a woman in the news. Similarly, Micaiah, the 16-year-old girl that was killed, I want to say she was killed in the same year, on the date of the George Floyd conviction. She was killed. A 16-year-old girl fending for her life outside, and they say, she looked bigger. That is a regular thing that is used. That's the connection that we don't normally draw between blackness and fat phobia and our criminalization and our life and how it costs people their life, because it's constantly used as a justification that we are essentially it's how we're dehumanized. Think about even how it was on the plantation, the bigger slaves take this or whatever. You even It's a thing. So it's a really dangerous rhetoric that seems casual and normal. Christina, go.
It's fatphobic, and also we're dabbling in a little bit of transphobia and masculinization of Black women, because the example to be, well, if Roe was a man, if Roe was a 5'2" man, Franco is crazy. Like, I really just have to say it like that. Like, that is how you, subconsciously or consciously, that is how you viewed her.
How we just
The way that, if using that, right, or any other person who might view her like that, right, well, if she was you're viewing her as a man because of her size, because of how tall she is, how big she is, and because of her being aggressive or assertive. We don't know what happened in that conversation. Again, Conscious said it could have corroborated, yeah, he mad because I didn't give him my number. And her story was just a condensed, embellished version. He called me a bitch, I hit him, right? Because she maybe had an aggressive reaction to whatever they were talking about, because of her size, because she's loud. We're associating her with being a man, so much so that it don't even matter that she's a Black woman, because, well, she's acting like a nigga, she got hit like a nigga. That's crazy. Like, that's what we get into right now.
That's what y'all are doing. Wait, but I can argue though, like, that's what y'all are doing to Olay, because the narrative is this big, strong Black man is unable to be a victim, right? Because, man, like, you didn't feel no pain when she punched you.
No,
but if Ola was a 5'2" white man,
saying that he can't be a victim.
We said he should sue civilly. We said that he should sue civilly. We said we should leave the victim discourse behind several times. It was because you insisted that he is a victim and she's not a victim that we're having this discourse. We weren't saying that. We actually said, like, if he was unfairly, like Nia said, there was a bunch of different avenues. If he was unfairly disparaged, his reputation was harmed for that. There were routes for him to take to deal with that. And there isn't anything wrong with making those points. It's only it's the argument we're making when we were specifically talking in result to you saying, like, self-defense. We know he's a victim because it was self-defense. And I said that was not something that is established. Like, we should actually stay away from those things, because those are affirmative defenses that are be raised in court. And once that is raised, then it becomes a conversation about proportionality. And that's when, and that's to my original argument. Your problem is you're saying, like, proportionality is dangerous because it leans into what we're talking about. And I could say, cool, that's exactly why I think we shouldn't be in the criminal system dealing with these things in the first place.
But I would also argue that, like, this whole social discourse in a way did save him from having to defend himself in a criminal trial. The public opinion of her being a liar and her having all of these other incidents with other people and people really just discrediting her and disliking her prevented the DA in this case from even charging him. In a different situation where the media didn't pick this up and the social media platforms didn't pick this up, he would have had a criminal charge against him and he would have had to put forth his self-defense argument, and he probably would be in jail right now because he didn't have any business fracturing her face, whether she mushed him or not. So I think, like, you know, you could say he's a victim, he did all this, but I think he benefited from her starting this discourse. And if she hadn't, like, we wouldn't have heard of this situation. He would be in jail.
My question is, why is the disproportionate, like, result? Why is that such, like, a point for you guys? Like, why do you guys feel like that's important?
Because that's the basis of self-defense. Like, you're saying, he defended himself, but it has to be a force that is proportionate to the threat that you face. So if I mush you, you can't punch me real hard and knock me out. You can't shoot me. You can't do any of that because it's disproportionate, right? Like, I
always say, if you robbed my house and I shot your grandmother, do you think that's a fair response?
And if you actually self-defense, let me tell y'all, the criminal system is not set up to be like, the criminal system is not intuitive. Like, let me put it to you this way. The way you think, like what we think intuitively is self-defense, the law does not look at it that way. Like, I remember one of the first cases when I clerked for a judge that I had to, like, decide if he should give its last chance appeal to, was a kid was basically being, like, beat up and harassed, like, every single day by these boys. Like, every day they were beating the shit out of him. And like, one day they tell him, like, they beat him up and they tell him, like, oh, we're gonna kill you, right? They tell him that. So he goes back in the house, and when he next comes out, he comes out with a weapon. And he shoots this kid or something. And the court says, I understand why that's self-defense. They've been beating the shit out of him. They're out there waiting for him. They're threatening him. They are threatening his life, and he knows that they're going to do something to him. But the court says, because you went into your home, they were no longer a threat to you. That's not self-defense. So I said it to say, like, self-defense is not what we think of it as. It is not what we think of it as. And it is something, it's very often, again, the United States criminal system is intentionally made and maneuvered and come up with exception on exception on exception on exception to make sure that they can incarcerate as many people as possible. There's a reason why it isn't intuitive. There's a reason why you see all this proportionality. A reason why it creates even the fact that self-defense is an affirmative defense, meaning like when you're charged, you don't have to make a case. The prosecution has the burden to make the case against you. They have to prove the case against you beyond a reasonable doubt. There's nothing you have to prove. But if you raise a defense to defend yourself, suddenly you have to make a case. And now that opens you up to, like, in the same way, she's like, Rose had all what she's previously done, all this or whatever, litigated XYZ. That's what'll happen if he had actually had to go to trial and raise an affirmative defense. And now we're talking about all this and the next thing or whatever to discredit him. So I said that to say, to bring back to my overall, this is the fundamental problem I have with allowing the criminal system to be to who we turn to litigate our issues and disputes and use them as examples or whatever. Because at the end of the day, like, we're rowing, but the criminal system gets the last laugh, because all that happens is all more Black people are going to be in poverty. Because that's all I'm hearing is roll, like, beyond this $42,000. Something people don't realize, because America loves to be like, oh, you did your time. You think every time you're convicted of something, there's a fine associated with, like, a hefty fine and fees and all of this. And so to guarantee you never escape poverty. So now she's going to, on top of getting a criminal conviction, that's going to permit, this is obviously somebody already was in a position where they're not able to, like, make the money they need and take care of themselves. That's why they were looking to a GoFundMe in and of itself. And so now you're going to have a criminal conviction that prevents your employment ability. You can't use the internet to be able to do much for yourself, to make any kind of, like, startup for yourself. And now you're going to pay fines, fees, and you got to pay back this $42,000, and pay back to whom? It's a state literally just making money off the backs of Black people and off of Black disagreement or whatever it is. So that's why I feel the way that I feel about it.
And she was in doctoral school, getting a PhD, and it's just like, hey, the things that she was doing for the Black community, that's not like I'm talking about, to me, it's being negated, it's being taken away, and now she's being seen as just this crazy person. It's like, hey, listen, man. As to me, as Black men, to the Black men in the comment section, to the other Black men, let's be real. How many of our homeboys have we protected because they was lying? How much politics do we have and we want to call out for lying? So how now is you the morality police and saying you against lying? I thought code is being able to back up your homeboy when he didn't lie to his girlfriend or his wife and being able to back it down. So now I call bullshit that you want to come at consciously for being the adjudicator of truth. You feel what I'm saying? Especially if you're seeing this. If you're seeing this. Okay. A lot of y'all made money off of calling Cassie a liar. Where is all the retribution? Is you making think pieces and apologies to her?
Well, Cassie is like,
she is a liar.
Like, she did lie about something.
I gotta go.
See what I'm saying?
I gotta go. Before we get off topic, because I feel like that's
Diddy and Rhoda the same person according to y'all?
I have to go. Oh, right.
I'm like, but
wait, the question though, but isn't Diddy and Rhoda the same person to y'all?
No.
Diddy was
you see me trying to make this space more inclusive. Why are you making this hard on me? Why, Flacco? Help you. I want to have you here. You see the pitchforks that just came out? Would you? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because sometimes a nigga need to be sometimes
was not the Rico weaponized
Let I want to hear Christina speak.
Sometimes a nigga gotta be on a skewer. And Flacco, if you put yourself out to roast. No.
I think you is a victim. I'm saying, based on your explanation.
No. I think we should end this episode with a beautiful discussion about how proud we are of Flacco to come here with us.
I feel no such thing.
I do believe that Diddy was overcharged with the RICO. Again, Diddy did beat up Cassie, but if we're saying the justice system has a knack to overcharge and overpunish, I think them trying to charge Diddy with a RICO.
I think
them
RICOs are
overcharging him.
improper. I think RICOs are improperly used. I think that is an entirely different point than the initial point was you saying Cassie was a liar. That right there. Please don't proceed.
Yeah.
Don't proceed. I'm too tired. I don't want to have to do this. I want to love you. I want to be able to bring you back here. Like, you see everybody's face? Let's just.
Hey, but to the audience though, my point was proved. To the audience, the inconsistency, my point was proved. To the audience though, what they saying is, hey, if your little sister lied to a ever or lied, and your sister get hit by a your sister be lying. So we should call it.
It don't justify credibility of Cassie though.
I just want to say,
are you talking about Diddy's many lies? Like the amount of times Diddy has lied?
That don't matter.
You know what? Yeah, let's make this. You know what? Let's not do this. We'll do this another time. I love a specific. I could bring you back up here to say crazy things on another day about Diddy and Cassie. Yes. No, this was good. This was a nice, healthy discussion. Let's end it there. Stop what you're doing and listen up. You just watched a video on one of my channels, but the Illuminati verse is huge, and I want to tell you what everything is and how to find it. The Illuminati verse has 6 channels. On the YouTube homepage of any one of those channels, every single channel in the Illuminati verse is featured at the bottom of the page, so you can always easily find them. Okay? Remember I said that. Don't say I ain't tell you how to find it. Subscribe to my main channel, Illuminati, to find my Illuminati productions, which are my long-form video essays, and also all of my backlog of content. Subscribe to my second love child, Illuminati Pop, for my weekly video essays analyzing my favorite TV and movie shows and characters. Illuminati Pop also has its own Patreon where you get all of those videos uncensored. Subscribe to my channel, Olay Friends, for my podcast, Olay Friends. New episodes of Olay Friends come out every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Subscribe to Olay Chill for new episodes of my podcast, Olay Chill, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. And also, both Olay Friends and Olay Chill are both available on streaming platforms like Spotify. Subscribe to Illuminati Bites if you want my takes, but you don't have an hour to spend. Subscribe to Illuminati Politics for my political analysis and my State of the Union type addresses on my show O Squared. And last but not least, subscribe to my Substack Illuminati for my written work.